Hey, Happy New Year and all that. Today I wanted to work on a couple of 16 by 16 characters again. I will be working on a boxer design and a chef design. They are not animated today. I'm only using 4 colors for this again. I chose the colors kind of on the fly. If you're using a sprite like I am, you can go to View, hold over Grid, and then click Grid Settings. Set your width and your height how you want it, and then click OK, and these blue lines should show up. The grid is already set to 16 by 16, so that way as long as you stay within the lines, you'll get the size that you're wanting. And as per usual, this video is done in real time. You can go on YouTube itself and speed it up if you need to, if I'm a little bit slow for you. But I know that there's people that appreciate the real-time stuff because they like to follow along, and I appreciate you following along my video and learning how to make tiny pixels. As you can see, I am making use of the symmetry tool. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. This is completely your decision. I just find it easier and quicker to get these things done. It can be more interesting if you keep your characters a little asymmetrical, but it might make it harder for you to remember how to animate them later. But it might be worth it. So just give it a shot, see what you like. I'm doing completely symmetrical though. Now to talk more about like your character anatomy and such on here, I like to keep the characters, how are we going to say this, the facial, shape in particular, but then you also have to make sure that you shape the face in such a way that you have room for hair and a body. Now, this is a boxer, so the most important part of him is going to be his outfit and his fists. So his fists are going to be quite large, and we're going to have his body on the larger side. His head's not going to take up as much of the canvas here. Now, deciding on the hairstyle wasn't too difficult, but the problem I had was getting a shape that I liked, because for a moment here he was starting to look like George Washington. Don't know if I want that look. Now, this man does not belong on a dollar, but he might punch for one. I don't know, we'll see. He does currently have white socks. I'm going to change that later, because I do want to keep it down to the 4 color count, including the outline color. I think it's about here that I'm starting to think about what kind of face I want him to have. Currently, he looks really sleepy or relaxed, so let's change that up and see what we can find through experimenting. Here I'm finally settling on the 4 colors that I want to primarily work with, which means I'm going to have to remove that white. Unfortunate, but we want to keep the colors as restrictive as possible. Now, if you're just drawing these little dudes for fun, and you're not too heavily focused on having to make it work in a specific game engine such as Game Boy Studio, do whatever you want with the extra colors. If you want extra colors, leave the whites in the eyes, give him some socks, whatever makes you happy. Give him a bandana even. Heck, you could probably do that with the 4 colors. By the way, I added that little U shape to his pants, so that way it would imply that maybe his body is kind of round. It just gives a little illusion of depth. Now, from here, and I'm not colorblind, and I don't know anybody that's colorblind, but I went and pulled my colors and turned them black and white as close as I can to what they are. The reason I did this was so I could check for values and make sure that they're very easy to distinguish from one another, even if this image was not readable by the specific colors that I'm using. This is a good practice in general to do with any kind of artwork. And it's in part because, for example, if we were going to shade this character If the color values are too close to each other, people will not be able to pick up the differences between your shadow values, the mid-tone for your skin tone, and then highlights very well. So you want to make sure that, don't go crazy with the values unless that's part of your style, but bring them enough away from each other that you can tell the difference and you can see a clear line between the colors here. And of course, if we were, say, painting, that might be a totally different thing. Maybe you want to blend the colors in. But with pixel art, we need to be able to distinguish one part from another easily. It's funny, I always tell y'all to just, not, fret about little details too much, and that, what you're doing is probably fine if it's readable, but I'm always tweaking something, aren't I? So from this point, I'm going on a different layer, and I'm taking these cyan-colored lines, and I'm drawing them out from behind my character. I'm marking where the top of the head is, where the shoulders are, where the fists end, and where the feet are. And I may mark another spot or two, but long story short, pick some areas that are important to you when you're going to do a turnaround of this character. So I'm going to draw him from the side, and it's really important that I get these proportions right.
Anywhere you go, give it all. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
Now my legs are wider from the side. That's a personal choice. You can keep them skinny if you want. I do end up giving this guy the Hank Hill treatment. He does not have a butt. I'm sorry. Now I do give him kind of a weird pose here, but I really want the boxing glove to be sticking out and be more readable, so he's got his arm out. Alright, so here I go tweaking things because I'm being very picky. If you would like to see how that's going, you can probably skip ahead, or you can just, I don't know, watch, listen. This actually happens to be my favorite track, or one of my favorite tracks in the audio library here on YouTube. It's really nice. Now, I have to tell you guys that I goofed here. So, my recording program completely screwed up, and it didn't keep everything, it crashed. So, there's this trick you can do by holding Control Z, and then all the way back, and then you Control Y, and your picture comes back like a speed draw. So, this way I can show y'all what I did without having to redraw the whole thing, because I was really not in the mood. And sometimes that's just how it is. Now, I purposely made sure to redo everything with Control Y at a slow pace so you can see what's happening little by little. I didn't want to go and do it too fast, because then you'd have to slow the video down, or you'd have to sit there and try to figure out where each pixel is little by little. You're probably still going to have to pause if you're wanting to emulate or copy the character, but it's better than it would be if I just did a speed draw. Now, how else are you going to recognize a chef except for by their hat in a video game, right? So, we're going to make sure that the head is lower on the canvas, the body is small, and the hat's going to take up a lot of space. Now, more head space would imply more brains, but for all we know, this boxer is a philosopher, and I don't know, this chef might be being controlled by a rat. Wait, haven't we heard this plotline before? Anyway. I also mark where the top of the eyes are on this one, in part because there's also some hair there, and I want to be able to judge where I should put things properly. Now, this chef can have just about any hairstyle that you're comfortable drawing in these positions, so I've tried pigtails and I tried a ponytail. If you made it this far in, please let me know what you think of the video and everything. If there's a specific character type you'd like to learn to draw. And if you have some critiques for the video, I'm always open for them. Or even critiques on my artwork, just let me know.